This video is about political scientist Richard Fenno, who coined the term Fenno's paradox to describe how members of Congress will run against the institution of Congress itself to get reelected in their own political districts. And it is through Fenno's paradox that most political scientists would explain how the most democratic institution of the federal government, the institution that holds elections closest to the people themselves, is perpetually also the least popular branch of government. Not only is Congress less popular than the executive branch and the judicial branch, pollsters have had some fun with this question over the years about how unpopular the United States Congress really is. That a few years ago, they actually started to ask some kind of funny questions, asking people to compare Congress to other unsavory things in American life. And among those things, as it turns out, are cockroaches, which are possibly the most disgusting creatures living on the planet. And the poll found that, yes, Congress is in fact less popular than cockroaches. Okay, we could argue over the margin of error in this poll, but as it turns out, Congress is also less popular than things like traffic jams, the rock band Nickelback, and head lice. Yuck. So back to political scientist Fenno and his paradox, which was simply part of his larger research project, actually, on Congress, in which he conducts a field experiment, which is very unorthodox in political science research, actually. He actually just followed around and observed several members of Congress who remained anonymous for the study, and actually documented their daily activities, documented their quotes, asked them questions about what they were doing, why they were doing things, and he ended up formulating this theory about congressional behavior that it ran a little bit counter to how most political scientists at the time viewed members of Congress and their behavior. They really looked at it as members of an institution located in Washington. Well, Fenno took that and he said they are not actually just members of institutions in Congress. They're actually members of their communities and their political districts. So methodologically, he was doing something very counter to what most political scientists were doing at the time. At the time, there's a trend towards quantitative analysis, modeling, and things like that. And Fenno stated that in order to understand Congress, we should probably try to understand the individuals in Congress, pick their brains. And in fact, those members, as it turns out, they care a great deal about re-election, which is something everybody already knew. But they care about re-election even if they're in safe districts. They like to win, but they also, those who are pretty much guaranteed to win, they like to win by large margins, as it turns out. And their concern is not actually what's happening in Washington, D.C., the rules of Congress, yada, 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 but rather what is happening in their home districts, hence the term home style. And their behaviors, which include things like taking positions on issues, are guided by the sentiments of those people they represent. And in fact, those members of Congress are part of that community and are kind of the same as those people they represent more times than not. And this is especially applicable to the House of Representatives, where members of Congress come from relatively small geographical districts with very specific demographic characteristics. And because hardly any political district, hardly any House district in the United States reflects the country as a whole, it is in fact advantageous to run against Congress as an institution, blame Congress as an institution for frustrations, and actually probably is partly to blame, and blame other members of Congress who tend to reflect other people, other interests, and other groups. So Fenno's paradox is conceptually useful to understand why members of Congress are less popular than cockroaches, but it actually goes a little bit farther than that. It helps us understand other public opinion data, stuff like, why is there this near universal dislike of Congress as an institution? Very few people hold a favorable opinion of Congress, yet nearly all members of Congress are re-election within a given election year. Well, this is Fenno's paradox, which I think is a very helpful and oftentimes overlooked concept in teaching American government. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment below if you wish and subscribe to this channel.